Welcome, gamers. It is Friday night, and we are back. We're back.
Yeah, you sure are.
We are back. Peter, I've missed you, my brother.
Yeah, man. It's been way so long, but...
It has been way too long. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the NLG show, the Next Level Gaming Show. I am Mike Mullis.
I'm Peter Houtink.
And tonight, we got a great special guest. Unfortunately, Chris is... Well, not unfortunately. Let me not say that. He is still Thanksgiving-ing with his family. So he's had... his family asked him to hang out a little bit longer. And you know what? Family comes first. So he's out doing his thing with his family. And we have a fantastic guest tonight. And a returning guest at that. Not just that... someone we're connected to in a few ways. He is one of the mainstays and writers at Tick, the Inner Circle. He is now our boss. Well, no, not really, but he's the head of the affiliate program that we are a part of, and all around awesome guy, Mr. Nick Downey. What's up, brother?
Oh, no, home lot. I would help if I could English. Oh, my God.
It's Friday
thanks for having me on the show, man. It's great to be back here again, and it's been a while, so always good to talk games with you guys.
Yep, and we got some good stuff to talk about tonight. Not going to cover everything that's happened in the last couple of weeks because there's just not enough time in a day. We could be here for 24 hours. I know Pete doesn't want to do that. So, but... thanks for coming on with us, Nick. And you also, of course, have your own show as well, not only in the Tick podcast, but the Gaming Perspective, which actually is really one of my top listened to podcasts on the internet, and not for not for nothing, but I remember being one of your first guests.
Yes, you were. It's been interesting. Running my own podcast is certainly it's been a learning curve. I definitely need to give people that I podcasted under more credit than I ever did because I thought it was pretty straightforward and easy. And now with all the other things that are on my plate as well, it certainly makes my time period. Time management is becoming a very important skill to learn how to use. But no, it's great. I love all the stuff I do. I'm getting to work with all sorts of different people and different brands, and getting those so many awesome people out there. And it's always a great thing when you start talking to other people and get out of the social media bubble.
Oh, you mean there's human beings outside of the social media bubble?
Well, I'm not going to say human beings because I don't like going outside and talking to real people either. But there are good people on social media, contrary to 98% of my Twitter mentions.
98%. Very nice. Oh, man. So, well, as it is Friday night, we may be... we'll see how many people drop in. I mean, it is Thanksgiving weekend, and... it is Black Friday, so people might be out fighting in the Mortal Kombat pit of places like Walmart and Target for their stuff. So don't play, Peter. Everything seems like it's okay. We haven't had any glitches. Don't do that.
Just keep you on your toes.
Yeah, thanks. Not again. Click. So. We'll see how many people join into the chat room tonight. And talk with us. Niles here. Niles, I haven't seen. I know he's been waiting for us. So look, the community theater. I did my community theater thing. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. Had a great time. Waiting for the DVD to come out so that I can see how goofy I look up on stage. But I was definitely ready.
DVD? Man,
Yeah.
if it's not a 4K Blu-ray, come on, man.
Well, the guy that recorded it wasn't exactly the top of the line. This wasn't exactly Warner Brothers making this thing.
You should be, so I guess you should be lucky it's DVD and not like VHS.
Exactly. The guy recording it basically stuck a camera in the middle of the aisle of the church that we do this thing at, and he didn't even plug into the sound system. So I'm curious as to how it even sounds. So
what you're saying is this is gonna have the same audio quality and just general creative design that Suicide Squad had on launch. So you're on a DC level.
Yes, there you go. DC. Well, no. So anyway, so I am back. I have been ready to go. I've been ready to rock and roll, and I'm glad you guys are here. Of course, Chris will be back next week, but let's get into Black Friday. Did you guys spend any Black Friday money?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. What'd you get?
I bought a Detroit.
How much was that?
That was $20 GameStop. Let's see what else did I get. I got Firewall, PSVR game. It's also $20. Let's see, and I got Black Ops 4 for $30 after a sneaky new Walmart account with a code for an extra $10 off. So.
Okay.
Right. That's as much as I wanted to spend for that game. So, wish I was digital, but maybe one of the topics we talk about is the Microsoft trade-in deal. Discless consoles.
Well,
Who knows?
You're gonna have to tell me about that because I didn't. Now, don't get me wrong. I looked across the Black Friday stuff. I didn't hear about this. What's up? What's this about?
Well, there's a rumor that Microsoft wants to create another SKU, like a discless.
Oh, you're right. We are going to talk about
Xbox.
That. Yes, you got to be careful. Hey, say that too. Yeah, we have to. We are going to talk about that a little bit because Microsoft's been on a kind of a tear the last couple weeks as far as news goes. So I do have some of that we can talk about. We can talk about it right now. So tell us about it. I'll see if I can get a picture of it.
Yeah, sure. So about a discless Xbox. So pure for the digital people, which, most of my Xbox games, or most, I would say 99.9% are digital, so I don't see a problem. Also looking at Steam sales, it's all digital anyways. I mean, I haven't seen a PC disc-based game in ages, so why not true. on the console? Kind of like to have a drive in it though, a 4K Blu-ray player, but not really for games, but more for the movie for movies. But yeah, I mean, if they can cut some costs, and if most people or some people, if you're digital anyways, then why not?
And that's a good point. If you're not interested in having this thing as a movie player, as a physical movie player, correct. Then if you can get an Xbox One X for a standard price of, well, I guess by 2019, where do you think we're going to be price wise?
I don't know.
$399 seems to be the sweet spot right now. That Black Friday price has a lot of people going out and grabbing that.
Yeah. But here's my question: How much is a drive? $30?
Well, but a 4K Blu-ray, I don't know. I don't know what
the 4K Ultra, the 4K Ultra HD drives or wherever they put in the Xbox Ones. If you want to slap one in your PC, and keep in mind that's in your PC, I think it's about $80, right. $80 to $100. Obviously, with the console, they'll use a not a cheaper one, but they'll have a better pricing for it. It's not a consumer price they get wholesale. So for argument's sake, probably like $40, maybe $30-$40.
Well,
Right.
just a quick shot at Newegg. The cheapest one that I see is a Pioneer 4K. Well, that's a burner. Let's see the one that's not a burner. And I don't have one that's just a player, so it's looks like the cheapest price is $129.
Ooh.
With burner or without?
None of them. I don't think any of them, because they're internal drives. They all burn. They all burn something.
Right.
But that's the going price from Newegg if you want to slap a 4K UHD player into your PC. So, granted, without burning, Nick's probably real close, probably $80 to $100.
Okay. I mean, I can see that. When you look at like an Xbox One S, $50 is a lot of money. When you look at an X, $50 is like nothing based on the even like a $399 price. But you mean I can see Microsoft wants to have the highest profit, so if they can drop something,
that would be the thing to drop.
They won't.
It'd definitely be the thing to drop. So.
And I'm also curious about design, cooling wise, and other stuff. Maybe they can make that cheaper too. Now you have a different layout. So I don't know. I'm not the expert, but
well, they make it. I mean, how much smaller can they make it from the? Could they make an S-sized X without the drive? I'm sure they could.
Maybe you can chop a third off. I don't know.
Well, if they made like a smaller X, they could do it but I don't know how much smaller it would be because of the cooling system they went with, because it's vapor cooling, right? So right. I don't exactly know how much space vapor cooling, like with fan cooling, it was always just pretty simple. How big's your fan? That's how much space it takes.
Right.
Vapor cooling, I know how water cooling works. I won't even pretend to know how vapor cooling works.
Well, let's also think about this too. I hadn't seen anything in any of the news articles that say anything. So this came from, as you guys know, Paul Thurrott. He's the one who kind of broke this over on his blog, for better or for worse, whether or not it's it's actually true. The Scarlet devices, they're being called. Not the Scarlet device, I'm sorry, the pre to that. What they are looking at is an entry level, like an S. I haven't seen anything that says anything about an X.
Okay.
So what Paul says is they want to maybe make this thing for a price point of $200 or less. So,
I mean, right now on Black Friday, those S's go for $199, right?
Right, but what do they go for regularly?
I think $249, maybe.
So I'm wondering if it's just going to do
$299. I don't know.
I can't even give you guys an accurate price because Canadian prices suck.
Right. So I'm
1 million Canadian.
Like if I go to the Xbox site and I go to xbox.ca and I go shop an Xbox One S, right now for our Black Friday offers, the Xbox One S is $300 on the Black Friday deal because normally they're $400. Sorry, for an S, normal price.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at like Sam's Club and like Best Buy's got the Minecraft bundle right now for $199, but like you do Sam's Club or you do where else did I see? Even like Walmart, the Walmart S Battlefield 5 bundle is still $259. So it's possible that
So probably $299 then, $299, normal price.
Yeah, because you guys are typically $100 cheaper than we are. So if regular prices for an S up here is $399, it's probably $299 for you guys.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at is, you get a discless 1S, and
Probably $249 then.
but not if they want to make. So that's what they're saying. That's what Rod's saying is he wants, or Thoreau. How do you pronounce his name anyway?
I'm pretty sure it's Thoreau.
Okay.
I think.
But it was actually, I'm looking at the article now. It was actually Brad Sams who wrote the article. It just happened to be on Thoreau's log. So if it's Thoreau, I'm waiting on Sam to correct me. If Frankie was here, I'm sure he would know, and he would correct me in a heartbeat. So Brad Sams is the one who actually wrote this article. So they're looking to get this into the $200 or less price point, which would be insane for an S-type SKU.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you wonder how far off the next-gen consoles are. If they're going to bring this out in 2019.
Yeah, here's another thing. It's they could use that also to test the waters for a digital-only console.
True.
Say like 2020 is next gen, between quotes. Because
it would make sense because we already had that rumor post E3, and it was a really well-sourced rumor that there's most likely 2 or 3 SKUs for Scarlet.
Right.
Because there's the 2 that we know for sure are happening is there's going to be a base model Streambox style, and then there's going to be a traditional console SKU. And then there's the rumor of whether or not there'll be an X-style higher-end model available. That's kind of up in the air, but the base console and the streaming box SKU are the most believable ones. And the price point they're targeting with the streaming box SKU is somewhere between $129 to $199. That's what they want to aim for. So this price point that they're trying to target the S for of under $200 is the same price point supposedly they want to launch this Scarlet box. So they could be testing the waters with a discless Xbox One S at a really cheap price point to go, are people willing to give up their disc tray in a console, and will they adopt it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you also got to keep in mind, with 2019 coming around the corner, there could be potential for new software that could move Xbox consoles. You got Gears of War 5, you got Ori Will of the Wisps, you've got Battletoads, you've got potential Ninja Theory game, there's all this stuff that's in the pipeline, so people will most likely want an Xbox console, but what are they going to buy? And I think that's the kind of data that Microsoft is trying to gain from this. That's just my thinking.
True. But I think also launching another SKU of this console, the current one in 2019, says that they're not going to drop this when Scarlet comes out. Like we're not getting we're not going to get that games only available on. It's not going to happen.
I think with what they're going with, and I could be wrong, but the whole process that Microsoft seems to be doing is they're backwards proofing and forward proofing. And by why I say backwards proofing and forward proofing is when you think about how the backwards compatibility program's been working. We can play old games, we can play all these games from the original Xbox. I wish there was more. I wish we had gotten more announced. That's a different issue. Xbox 360 backwards compatibility is great. I hope with Scarlet they'll just go, you can just play your Xbox One games, and it's not a select list.
Yeah.
But they seem...
Go ahead.
And they seem to really be focusing on that. So what I really think is, I think Microsoft's trying to see if what they can do is kind of similar to what PC gaming was like in the 90s, and go, we've got these games you can play on this hardware. It looks better on this hardware. And then slowly phase people into upgrading. I don't think Microsoft's worried about selling 80, 90 million consoles anymore. They're just more worried about growing a customer base more than selling hardware. And I think with things like Game Pass and all these other sources of income they've created is to alleviate the requirement for them to move astronomical amounts of hardware to make money. And you're slowly seeing Sony adopt a similar model, because I don't think we're going to see traditional console generations the same way we've always seen them. I think this is changing, for better or for worse, and Microsoft is really trying to future-proof themselves. And with what they do with backwards compatibility and everything else, I'm not worried about, like, the day they announce Scarlet, if everything's backwards compatible on my Xbox One, I will trade my One X in towards Scarlet, no questions asked.
Sure.
Because I don't have to worry about losing my library.
Well, yeah. I think, see, and I've...
The only thing you lose, well, look at the OG Xbox One. It's the Kinect port, darn it.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
Why
okay.
do you have to always... Why do you have to always take that knife and shove it in and turn it?
I don't know. The other day, well, that was actually this week, I found a YouTube video. It's like how you can rig your Kinect so you can actually, put an adapter on it and use a regular USB 3.
I almost did it.
Yeah.
I almost did it. I'm like, I got close, and then I was like, nah, I'll find like an underground black market adapter someone will sell.
Yeah, as long as the amps are high enough.
Yeah.
Typically, they're kind of on the low end.
No. Plus, it's upstairs with the other Xbox One, and it's great. My wife can turn the TV on and off with it, so it's okay.
My thing is, like, how can you play like games like Just Dance without a Kinect? I mean,
I've been asking Nintendo gamers that for years.
Right.
Well,
you shake the Wiimotes.
Yeah, now you also can use your phone instead of like whatever. It's like, what the?
Right.
That's not the same. Come on.
Right. Taking selfies and stuff.
Yeah.
I know, but Microsoft decided us old guys, we don't matter anymore. It's all about the youth. It's all about the Knicks. It's all about the young guys.
The day I lost my mind was when I went over to a friend's house, and this was in, I think, the 360 era, and I never realized as a kid growing up that you could play Guitar Hero with the controller, like an Xbox. And he's like, "Oh, you want to play Guitar Hero?" I'm like, "Sure." He hands me a 360 controller. I'm like, "What the?" I just came to the conclusion his parents didn't love him. They bought him Guitar Hero, but didn't buy him the guitar. Like, that's the first sign your parents don't love you.
Oh, man.
It's like playing golf with a baseball bat.
Right. Right. So my thing, and I'll maintain this. I don't think you have anything to worry about with that, Nick, with any kind of compatibility issues, because again, we're not radically changing architecture here. Could they use Ryzen? Yes, but it's still PC architecture. Still the same. It's still going to be the same style of PC hardware, just with better chips that will, they'll figure out how to get the games to scale up and down like they do on PC. Maybe sliders, maybe some of the things we're seeing on Xbox One X games, where you can choose between one or the other. I think day one, any new Xbox console, any new PlayStation console, whenever we hear, I know there's a ton of rumors flying around about the PlayStation 5. Not enough yet to really start talking about it, and to be quite honest, the way the PlayStation 4 is still selling, even like this month or this past month, I don't think they're in any hurry.
No,
I mean they're you would think that they would have leveled out by now, but they're not. They're still that Spider-Man bundle has been a butt kicker for them, and rightly so. So I don't think we're there yet as far as looking at a PlayStation 5. But I think either way, any of these new systems that come out, they're going to play the old stuff. How far? And they'll probably play the backwards compatibility stuff from the 360 and Xbox One, because those are simply emulators sitting inside so the code's not gonna change. Now how well they improve beyond that, who knows? I mean, we just saw the first game. Actually, I'm going to call it the second game. The second game that has a tangible difference between the original and the backwards compatible game. So we all heard about Final Fantasy, was it 13? Was it?
Yep.
Yeah, that actually they went back and they reinserted the original high quality cutscenes and some other things to make the game actually better backward compatible than the original. So we have that, plus we had Peter, if you remember, we played Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, and it was damn near 60 frames per second, where the Xbox 360 was only 30. So, how that scales up into these new consoles, we don't know, but I don't think, Nick, you're going to have any problem with worrying about will Xbox One games play on the Scarlet and vice versa. I think when Phil said we're not going to segment our base like that, they had already mapped this out.
Yeah, I think so. I think just following kind of the PC model, where you have from low range to super high-end rigs.
Well, let's face it. The days like the 360 era and the PS3 generation, when that generation ended, that's when it stopped being consoles and started becoming non-customizable PCs. Because the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 are essentially PCs now. Yeah. They run the same basic software. Like, for God's sakes, if you look at your Xbox One dashboard, it's Windows 10. You might as well just call it what it is. And basically what we've gone into is we are now selling non-customizable PCs to people. And that's all they're doing. And you see it more and more with mouse and keyboard support coming to Xbox One and everything else. They're trying to mix and bring all those audiences together, which is really cool. And it's giving people different options and how they can play their games and everything else. And it's been a really interesting generation in the fact of how much it's changed from 2013 all the way up till now. And if you had told me back in 2013 that Microsoft was leading the charge for backwards compatibility and historical game conservation and beating out Nintendo at that, I would have laughed at you. But now you've got Nintendo shutting down ROM sites and not giving people other options to play these older games, and you've got Microsoft who's going out of their way and has a whole team centered around bringing back older gaming experiences.
Well, I think for Microsoft, the only thing that holds them back is really, licensing.
Yep.
Right. Because really, I mean, they are still missing a lot of good titles. Although the orange box, I still have to crack that open because I now want to go back and see what Half-Life looks like. But
it looks damn good. I will say that. That was one of those games that when it became backwards compatible, I actually went back.
What's funny about that role reversal too is that we talk about Nintendo, but keep in mind that Sony was doing backwards compatibility kind of the right way. If I'm being honest, the PS2 could play every PS1 game because it had the architecture in there. The PS3 up until the Slim had a PS2 emotion engine in, so you didn't have to worry about is my thing compatible. And then Microsoft tried it with the Xbox 360 and got a little far into it and then dropped it. that was always my one concern about the Xbox One was, were they going to get a little bit into it, realize that, how many people are really buying this stuff, and then drop it, and then they started to see old game sales spike, and so that's a good thing. I want to give a shout out. What's up, Dirty J? So, and of course everybody else, Sam and Niall and everybody in the chat room. Sorry guys, Pete got us right into the action tonight. So I didn't get a chance to say hello. So it's all right.
I think though, as we were talking about with transitioning from a traditional console to more customizable PCs, the thing is that no matter how high spec my PC gets, I can still play in my old games. For example, I was playing last weekend. I was playing Dark Forces, which is a DOS game, and all I had to do was buy it off. I bought it off Steam, and then Auto runs a DOS emulator for me to boot the game up, and I'm playing one of my all-time favorite games.
Yep.
And I'm playing Baldur's Gate, I'm playing Sid Meier's Pirates, I'm playing all these different old games I loved as a kid growing up on PC. And there's no tricks to it. There's no, I've got to do this, I got to do that. It's just click, install, play. And I think that's what the future of console gaming is going to eventually be, is that you'll just be able to go, I feel like playing the first Ori game from Xbox One. Insert the disc or download it from your profile, and away you go.
Well, and don't forget we have the streaming thing Microsoft's working on.
Yeah, and they also rumored that that there will be a disc for digital code trade-in program.
Oh yes,
which will be awesome.
Which should also be a launching point for a digital trade store, something.
Right. Or at least digital lending, It's
yes.
like, hey, Mike, I got a fantastic game. Here, you can play it, and you whatever temporarily you have that title, and I cannot play it because that would make sense, I would think. But you can try it and play it, and when you're done, you check it back into my library.
Right, and same thing. So I'd be like, hey, so go ahead and grab this game. That if you remember, that was the original plan, or at least what we all thought the original plan was. We never really knew what the original plan was, but that was what I was actually really excited for, is one of Microsoft's pieces to the original. The original forethought, the foreshadowing, I like to call it, because, for all the nonsense that happened in 2013, here we are. I mean, here we are with almost that vision coming into clarity, and everybody got on guys like it wasn't Aaron, it was I can never remember his name. Also started with an A. He left Microsoft.
Albert Pinello?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Albert Pinello took so much crap for saying gamers just we were too early on our vision. He took so much crap for that, and now look, some games you can't even play without being online, and everybody's loving digital. So.
I mean, now it's like, you buy a game and it's just the installer is kind of on the game. You still have to download the whole thing.
Right. And sometimes you just get a code in a box.
Yeah.
So, but we could, I don't want to harp on that too much. But, that the future could be that too, Nick, is, okay, fine, we'll just stream the game to your new console. And here it is. It's all compatible.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people said that Google Stream with, I think it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, a lot of people that played that said it worked really well. And it didn't require super fast internet. There was a couple of guys at the Inner Circle that tried that out, and they said it was amazing. And they ran it on laptops, they ran it on whatever, and they were hitting solid frames, they were hitting things that hardware should never have been able to do. And if you look at it, is I believe, and people will correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, when it comes to cloud technology, I think Microsoft's number one in investment in cloud technology. And Google's using cloud technology for their streaming. So if Google's this far ahead and they're not number one with cloud technology, what's Microsoft doing with it? What are you doing with people like Mike Ybarra and people like that are working on this? And now, why can't I ever remember this guy's name? I feel like a terrible person. Who's head of the backwards compatibility program? Stillwell, I think. Stillwell? Bill Stillwell? No, I can't remember his name for the life of me. Well, he was head of the backwards compatibility program, and he was a huge pusher for it. He's now leading the xCloud team. So,
yes, Bill Stillwell.
Yeah,
good job.
I remembered a name for once. And he's now leading that team, and what he was able to do with backwards compatibility and what Microsoft was able to do on the software side of things with backwards compatibility, considering there was no original plan when they launched the console, I'm very interested to see what they could do with game streaming. That being said, I am still very far on the fence from being okay with streaming games. Like, I'm still like, this is the fence. I'm still way over here going, I like to buy digital games.
No, like, and there's something to be said for that, and and honestly, this is one place where I think, at least in the beginning here, Sony has really taken the rein, not the reins, but taken the leap of faith on streaming games with PlayStation Now, and it apparent, from what I understand, depending on your connection, it's not bad. Can it be better? Yes, which is what I think a lot of people are thinking with xCloud is, are you going to get stuck with 720p games? You're going to get stuck with 30 frames per second. It's hard enough, to be honest with you, doing LAN streaming, with your consoles in 60. It can be done, but even like my PC that we're doing this podcast on, which is a pretty beefy PC, drops a ton of frames when I'm trying to do the full bandwidth. And so think about that over the internet. I mean, there's a lot that's going to happen for that to really be what your experience is sitting in front of a console, which is why I think they're never going to replace the entire thing of, Microsoft's getting out of the hardware business and going to concentrate on streaming to everybody else's platform. No, they're not, because no matter how well you can stream, it's never going to be the same quality as using your own your own chips, your own chipset. Mm-hmm. So it's just not going to happen. It'll be a great addition. I do use my Surface tablet to stream some games here and there, or I'll be in my room or something like that. I still do that, but I can't see that being my primary mode of gaming.
No, I don't think they want that to be your primary form of gaming. I think, at least in terms of Microsoft's focus, I think they're more trying to combine their Surface audience with their gaming audience, because I can very much with xCloud see them going, you can play with your Xbox and then you can take your Surface on the go to, because they're steadily been making the Surface cheaper and cheaper models in a steady variation. I think you can get a Surface now for like $300, $400. They're not outrageous anyway.
No.
And they used to be pretty pricey hardware back in the day. So Surface is getting cheaper. They're talking about streaming games to mobile devices. Mm-hmm. It's clear that they're trying to take two of their most profitable divisions and make them work together. If it works out, cool. If it doesn't work out, well, at least you tried. Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said for Sony for taking the plunge with PS Now and streaming games way before everyone thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, and doing it to some to some success. I mean, let's be honest. They've got the subscriber base. If they didn't, Geki or what, that whole thing, that was a really good purchase. And don't forget that they're still using some really good back end as well. They don't have Microsoft, Azure servers, but they don't have they're not running their networking and stuff out of the back of a Sony insurance building. I mean, they've got a good setup too, and it's been getting better ever since they started charging for PS Plus. Sorry, folks, that's how it works. But these guys really do push, and that brings me. So I want to, if we can, I want to take a quick sidestep into one of the things I wanted to bring up, and that was because of the stuff that was going on with me with my production, we missed podcasting during XO18, and of the things that I very much took away from that show, from that Inside Xbox, more than anything else that I took away from, was that my game has come back. Crackdown 3 has come back. Mm-hmm. After not seeing jack squat about it, they were ready to finally show it. And I'll try not to break my arm patting myself on the back here. But we talked about this, Peter, maybe a month ago, when we were talking about coming out of Gamescom and not hearing anything more about Crackdown, and me being very concerned about whether or not this game was going to make it. And one of the things that we talked about was, CloudGen got bought by Epic, and it had to be something that more or less got them out of the way. There really wasn't any. I thought that they were kind of done in that arena. So what was going to happen? There was no more Regen as a company. So Sumo Digital took over. And I said, maybe, just maybe, Microsoft has I don't know if they bought or if CloudGen said, you know what, we can't work on this anymore, but we're going to give you the tech and you guys can finish it. And that was why they were so quiet, was they were rebuilding this tech for their Azure servers, which they announced that is what's going to power this new Wrecking Zone multiplayer with all the destruction and things like that. It was their original vision, just a bit modified because, circumstances changed. I read an article on Windows Central with I forgot the name of the guy, who's I guess he's working on this game. Now I'm gonna look it up while we're talking because it bothers me when I can't remember something like this. Where they were talking about, they knew that they were being quiet about the game while they were working this out, but it also, all this extra time they had to spend rebuilding the multiplayer, also gave them time to hone in on the campaign. Now I hear campaign and my ears perk up a little bit because me, I'm a campaign guy. And so I feel like the game has come back to me, and they're launching it a week early. So we've gone from who's gonna back out of February 22nd to everybody's backing out of February 22nd. Is there any games still left in that date?
Anthem,
And
but
Anthem's
even
still, yeah.
Anthem's there, but there's so many rumors flying around that it's not shaping up well either, and it's going to get delayed too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next year, you might hear about Microsoft buying BioWare. I'm just saying.
More like Microsoft will be picking up the remnants of what's left of BioWare after EA disassembles it.
Yeah. So, and they talked to Joseph Staten. That's who it was. And head of production Jorg Newman. So, you know, they knew what they had to do, and they didn't say it outright, but I still believe that they had to kind of rebuild this engine from what CloudGen maybe either gave them or maybe helped them to develop. But they had to take it all over themselves. And I think that's a good I think that's a good thing, because it gets you closer to, you know, I think when you're doing it in house, you're better off. But then it boosted the campaign mode. So apparently, from what from this article in Windows Central, the map, just the map, is like 3 to 4 times the original, the size of the original. Now there's no destruction, and I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting this level of that in the campaign. And I don't know that.
Can you imagine? How can I get to this orb? All right, level it. All these orbs will fall down to the floor. You know.
I'm not sure I want it.
Yeah. No.
I don't think what people realize too is, like, everyone always harped on, oh, well, there's no destruction in the campaign. They never promised that. At no point did they promise that level of destruction in the campaign. They said simply for the multiplayer, because it makes sense.
Right.
And the biggest takeaway I got from XO18's Crackdown 3 footage was reading and this is the first time I've done this, I read every impressions article from people who actually went hands-on with it, and there's one glaring thing that stood out to me. Every source, Polygon, Kotaku, IGN, everyone said this game is a lot of fun, and they nailed Crackdown for what it was in the original, what made it fun.
That's what I'm talking about.
And if you've got every site that's been harping on this game since it was revealed going, no, that this is actually good, that speaks volumes to the work that this team was able to do with this game.
Exactly.
Because there's no doubt in my mind that when it was all jumbled and there was like 4 different studios working on it and everything else, this probably was a train wreck. And if they managed to salvage, Crackdown 3 doesn't even have to be a Game of the Year contender or anything. If it just comes out and it's a good game, that's a win for this project as a whole.
Well, and it's in Game Pass.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And it looks fun. And you know what? Because I've never played the original Crackdown. For me, while I was watching
it's free, Nick. Get it. Hurry.
I downloaded it.
Okay.
Now it's just to get the time to play it.
All right.
But the thing...
Wow. Shameless promotion real quick. On our YouTube page, you can see some footage of it.
There we go. But the thing that really drew me into Crackdown, why I'm excited for it now, and I've been one of the people I've made a career off of bashing this game for the past 2 years, is it takes all the things I loved about Unreal Tournament back in the day and multiply the fun of that, and that just pure arena blow up stuff fun. And there's not a lot of games that do that anymore. And this game just hits me in that vibe where it's a game I used to play with my friends in the basement and just have a lot of fun with. You just spend an afternoon killing each other, doing crazy stuff, and I just need a game like that. I'm sitting there going, I haven't played a game like that in forever.
Yeah, but I want to. I'm going to be interested in your in your thoughts when you actually get a chance to play Crackdown, because for me, Crackdown was always about verticality. As Peter said earlier, trying to go up and get that orb. Remember getting the achievement for jumping off the top of the tower? Did you ever get that one, Peter?
I might have. I don't know. It's been so long.
Getting up there, and then looking around and looking down, made me sick. I mean, it was that the verticality and climbing and getting power orbs that make you jump higher, faster, longer, and just running around and throwing buses at people and stuff like that. That's what Crackdown is to me. This stuff is cool, and I could see myself enjoying this here and there. And the destruction part, is a glimpse into the future of what an online game could be when it's got some real power behind it on the back end. But I'm looking forward to that campaign. So, and our happy downer Niall says he'll believe it when Crackdown gets released. Nobody pushes a game a week ahead if they're not releasing the game. They didn't just delay it and then say, well, all right, so we're going to go into March or April. No, they're bringing it out a week ahead. And in fact, Sam was right. I just looked it up too. Metro is still on the 22nd. So Metro is going to be the big winner out of those two, I hope. But Microsoft apparently seems confident enough in this game that they're going to release this game before Metro and before Anthem and say, you know what, play this and see what you think. I mean, that's ballsy. Days Gone moved back. Crackdown moved ahead. That's a little ballsy.
Yeah, at least if you push it, ahead, then at least, people can just focus on this game, without it being overshadowed by, some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's a good time for the game because in January you got Kingdom Hearts 3, and you've got the Resident Evil remake, which is going to take away a lot of mainstream gaming's attention because those are really anticipated titles. You get Crackdown 3 smack dab in the middle of February, and then you hit the onslaught of Anthem, Metro Exodus. I think it's a really good, safe place. It's better to go before the big games than go after the big games. Rest in peace any developer that wanted to launch an open world game after Red Dead Redemption 2 and get good scores.
Right. A game, by the way, that I'm still not. I thought I'd be happier with that game than I am.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just started chapter 4. And, in Chapter 3, you have those moments, it's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then you finish that particular mission, and then there's like a letdown.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah.
Not feeling it.
See, there seems to be, on big games like Red Dead Redemption 2, there always seems to be that split. There's people that it's not one of those games where you're like, yeah, it's okay. It's one of those, I'm not feeling this, or people are just like, I sunk 300 hours into this game, it consumed my life, kind of thing. And I was really excited for Red Dead Redemption 2. I played a fair bit of it. I spent a solid week and a half playing it. I didn't get very far because I don't really have a lot of time for games at this point in time in the year. And then I got Hitman 2, and that was all I was playing. And then I forgot about Red Dead because Hitman's one of my favorite franchises, so immediately made me forget about Red Dead. I'm obviously going to go back and keep playing, but I will say that it's a really, really slow burn with that game, and that's definitely not for everybody.
Well, that's the problem, is it's a slow burn, and if you are, if you have the ability to slow burn that way, then fine. I don't. I mean, I keep playing it, and all I can think of is, man, maybe I'll throw in some Burnout Paradise. maybe I'll throw in some. You know what I haven't played in a while? Laser League. And it just, I don't know.
Well, see, the thing is, Mike, I will say this, is that I used to love games like Red Dead back before I had a lot of responsibilities. And why I say that is a lot of the people I see enjoying Red Dead Redemption 2 are able to sit down and play it and immerse themselves for hours at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And myself, through the work week, I get maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half of gaming time after work, after I put my kids to bed and everything else. That's if I don't just pass out on the couch. So it's hard for me to load up the game and get immersed and then be like, well, it's time for bed. So I don't play games like that through the week. So at that rate, if I'm only playing 4 or 5 hours on the weekend, it's a 100-hour game. It's going to take me 3 months. And that's, unless the story's really insane, I just don't have the time for that anymore. There are exceptions to that. I spent 4 months playing Kingdom Come Deliverance because I love that game.
True. Mm-hmm. And it's another one. I'm thinking man, I could start my game over. I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. Maybe this is what gets me. And welcome, Laios Van Heeren. Welcome to the show. Hope you are enjoying and hope you like it. I'm still finding myself, even in Chapter 2, I'm not nearly as far as Peter, holding the A button down a whole lot more than I think I should be. There's just a lot of horse traveling in this damn game. Where I just don't feel like I'm doing anything.
Yeah, I'm fine with the horse traveling. It's just the walking and stuff. It's so, he walks so slow. Even though you can run, but it's still feels very, I don't know, slow. And then the controls is I had that one mission with a cougar that I had to shoot, and it's you pull the trigger and half a second later the bullet finally gets released. I kept dying down there just because of the controls, and it's kind of rubs me the wrong way, and you just start, I don't know, that doesn't help in getting the right fuzzy feelings in this game.
I don't know.
The tank controls, I'm not sure if that's officially what you would call them, but I call them tank controls, because what Red Dead Redemption 2 reminds me control-wise is the same way I felt about Resident Evil 2 back in the day. Brilliant, brilliant game. Terrible, terrible controls.
Yeah. And
Rockstar Games as a whole just needs to figure out better control schemes, because I love a lot of Rockstar's games. Bully is one of my favorites. LA Noire is my all-time favorite.
Oh yeah, LA Noire, so good.
But damn it, just do a regular control scheme. Some of the controls always they always feel kind of slow, they always feel kind of tanky, and the button prompts are always they never keep the same controller layout for one of their games. So if you go from playing one of their games to a different game, you'll be oh, this will be wall hug, and then you're throwing a grenade, and you're whoops.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I'm pointing at the screen like everybody can see it. Laios does make some good points. It's all about whether the side missions and the setting. I like the setting. I like the Old West. Those kind of things appeal to me, and the game looks incredible. I mean, some of the details, the one mission that I did last night, I was drunk. I got drunk, and that whole mission was hilarious, and it was very detailed. And there are plenty of details. It's just and this could be every once in a while I get open worlded out, and I just kind of want to play something that's point A to point B, and that could be affecting it too. Also, didn't help that every night I had something going on, and like Nick, I don't get to play till 11 o'clock. So how can I punch serious time into the game when I don't have the serious time to punch in? No, I have not, Niall, and thank you for making me completely want to avoid that and never play that mission again.
I almost read it out loud.
Wow, yeah, no. I mean, I know what he's talking, and I know what he's talking about too in that particular mission, because there's one point where everyone is Lenny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't go upstairs. I thankfully did not. I also couldn't jump the fence, so I think I ended up somewhere in jail. So, right, you're right, Lenny.
Yeah.
Right. That some of that was really funny.
I mean, that game definitely it has its funny moments. Absolutely.
It does. But I'm not giving up on it. But I think it's just not going to be my primary game for this for this go around. And I still have to pick up Spider-Man. There's still games in Game Pass I haven't played. I was just checking the PlayStation site to see if Star Trek Bridge Crew was still on sale, because I wanted to get that. I want to take the VR headset down off the wall and play some more. Where does the time go?
Yeah.
So.
And also for me, it's like, that game gets so much hype. Everybody's raving about it. That always makes me very cautious. And I don't know. It's half of the time it kind of rubs me the wrong way. So
yeah, no, I feel
the game and it's like, yeah, and it's like, it's not as great as they say, even though it's a great game. But it's I don't know, kind of helps me in my disappointment.
Yeah.
It's when people set unrealistic expectations for how you're going to feel about something, and then when you get it, you'll almost never hit it. I learned this the hard way with The Last of Us, because I sold my PS3 back early in the PS3 generation, so I never had a chance to play The Last of Us. So as soon as I got a PS4, all I've heard for like 3 years up to that point was The Last of Us was the best damn video game that's ever been made, and nothing can touch its story. And they're like, it's better than 98% of movies. This is what people are telling me, and I'm like, okay. So I went in, and I played it, and I went, it's a good game, but I feel like I'm missing something, because I don't think it's the best game that's ever been made. I can think of 10 games off the top of my head that were better video games. And then, you don't say that on social media, I found out. But the thing is when people build your expectations like that, that's why I've gotten into this habit of, like, if there's a big game coming out, I'll mute that word on Twitter. I will mute. If, like, when Red Dead Redemption 2 hype was at its highest, I muted Red Dead Redemption 2. Because I was like, nope. I don't want to get it. I don't want to get too excited. I want to keep my expectations in check. And I find that it keeps me a lot happier. And I find, especially when doing reviews as well, is if I try to go in as middle of the pack as I can, so that I'm either impressed or not impressed with the game on the game itself, and not the social media buzz that's created around that game.
Right.
I agree. And it wasn't that the hype swept me up. It was that Peter liked the game at the beginning, so I was like, all right, I gotta get it.
Yeah.
I blame you.
But also, like, the first one, Red Dead the 1, the first one was, like, fantastic.
We were talking about that on the gaming perspective, and what I found out is that if you go online, a good majority of people never made it to Mexico in Red Dead. That's where a lot of people stopped playing Red Dead. That's where a lot of people went, I have no interest. And that means there's a good majority of people that played Red Dead Redemption never got to see one of the best endings in a video game.
Huh.
Well, I'm not going to say one of the best, but it's one of the most memorable to me anyway.
Right.
And it just blows my mind that people missed out on that. And then people are telling me the same thing with this game. They're like, once you get past, I can't remember what Sam told me. I think it was chapter 5 or something, or get halfway through chapter 4 or something. He's like, it just turns into a whirlwind, and then you're at the end. And I'm like, okay. Well, problem is, I'm in chapter 2, and I feel like I'm climbing uphill backwards with no climbing gear. Because every time I do one side mission, 6 more pop up.
All right. So now that we've gone off on a tangent on Red Dead, and kudos to Laios too, because he is correct. Red Dead Revolver was really the first game in the series. Red Dead Redemption just happened to be the sequel to that.
I've never played the original Red Dead, but it still irritates me to this day that Rockstar Games is pretending like
it
it's
never
not
existed.
the third game.
Right.
They're like,
yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2, because if we name it anything else, you won't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty sure Hauser came out and said that when they announced the name. They're like, why are you calling it 2? I'm pretty sure he basically said the fan base was too dumb. If he had called it Red Dead Redemption 3, they would have been confused.
Well, or, they could have gone to Matrix.
Well, yeah, because the other one was not one, so...
Yeah.
Well, you go the Matrix route, Red Dead Revolution, or something like that. Red Dead Return, something like that.
Yeah.
I remember reading a forum post. I think it was on Reddit or wherever. They're like, "Isn't this technically the third game?" I'm like, "You are right." And then someone's like, "Yeah, did Undead Nightmare come out after the original Red Dead Redemption?" I'm like, "Oh no."
Yeah. Oh. All right. So, I wanted to slide back before we got into our kind of big talk on E3. I did want to slide back into one other piece of Microsoft news, because this is significant, and it came out of X018, and that is the additions of not one but 2 studios. So everybody had been talking about Obsidian. That was the big excuse me. That was the big worst held rumor of all time for this year. Worst kept secret. But they hit with a second one that nobody thought of, at least nobody out loud, and that is In Exile. And so here's, for those that don't know Obsidian and In Exile, when you think of Obsidian, think of Knights of the Republic, Old Republic 2, think of Fallout New Vegas, and by the way, that other small game they did, which was South Park Stick of Truth. So, everybody kind of stuck on Pillars of Eternity, but yeah, they've got a pedigree, and what brings them in, what I guess Microsoft liked about them was their RPG elements, something that I guess something that we know Microsoft is missing in their genre is straight RPGs. So then they also picked up In Exile, which is of course Brian Fargo. Now, if you don't know who Brian Fargo is, you're not as old as I am and Peter is. I actually met Brian Fargo, maybe 16, 17 years ago. I can't remember when, at an E3. Back when there was Interplay. So he founded Interplay Games. Interplay was, they were so good. And just as a little side note, if you search for Interplay and you go to Interplay's website, there's a coming soon sign, which made me perk up a little bit. Anyway, so In Exile, however you want to say it, they have, of course, they are the Wasteland folks, Wasteland 2, Wasteland 3, and Bard's Tale. They picked up the Bard's Tale IP a while ago, and I think the last one they put out was 4. Now, both companies that have anything that's coming out multi-platform will continue to. Wasteland 3 is still going to come out for the PlayStation 4, much like they didn't pull Hellblade. The Compulsion Games still put We Happy Few out on multiple platforms. Of course, we all know Minecraft is out on multiple platforms. So, obviously, we believe that post those games, these companies are going to be making Xbox and PC games. But at least Microsoft is allowing them to honor their contracts with whoever. So, Robin Hood: Legend of Sherwood. Man, Linus and I might have to have some discussions after the show, because he's got some knowledge. He's got some old game knowledge, man. Anyway, you guys, your thoughts on this? Look at this picture now. This is now Microsoft Studios' internal studios. That's flippin' impressive.
It's more impressive once they start releasing games.
Well, sure.
But yeah, it's now it's just time. It's reap what you sow. So
well, the biggest thing to take away from this, I agree with Peter. You're gonna have some of these studios; they're gonna make some great games. You're gonna have some of these studios, and they might make some not so great games.
Sure.
That's just the risk that comes with investing in studios. And I think Microsoft's more investing in people than they are necessarily studio names. Because in that interview with Fargo, when In Exile was acquired, he was considering retirement.
Right.
And he said that
nope.
As soon as Microsoft put the offer on the table, he was like, nope, I want to do this.
Yep.
And you look at Obsidian, they had to kickstart their past 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fighting financial bankruptcy for years, and that studio has fought tooth and nail to stay open. And they've made damn good games that just critically didn't find the mark, and Microsoft picked them up. Compulsion Games is all ex-BioShock developers.
And you could see that in We Happy Few.
And you could see that you were missing the creative attention to detail that I can never remember names. I'm a terrible person. Ken Levine brought with BioShock his creative focus, but you could still see a lot of the influence to the team. Playground Games, their pedigree knows no bounds at this point. The Initiative, they keep bringing on more and more and more and more people, and you just sit there and go, how many more industry people are we going to see?
True.
Microsoft has hired in excess of right now, by the end of this year, will have hired roughly in excess of between 600 to 700 developers. And they basically did that whole bottom row of that nice Microsoft Studios image has all been added since late 2017, early 2018. That's all been since E3 this year.
Right.
And we have never seen growth like that in this industry. We have never seen such a quick turnaround and money investment. They've invested millions upon millions into this. Like, if you look at just all those in general, there's easily, I can't even put a number to it, a huge investment in first-party studios.
Mm-hmm.
And why we're seeing more and more is we're seeing Matrix vision for the Xbox One disappear, and what you're seeing is Phil Spencer and his team's vision for Xbox. We don't necessarily know what that's going to entail in specifics, because you asked In Exile and Obsidian. I think what they need to do with Obsidian's best work is when they're using someone else's IP. South Park, Stick of Truth, fantastic game. Someone else's IP. Knights of the Old Republic 2, someone else's IP. Fallout New Vegas, arguably one of the best Fallout games. Someone else's IP. Microsoft, if there was ever a team that I would give a Halo RPG to, it would be Obsidian.
That's what I'm thinking, man, is that, oh my goodness. Could you imagine taking some of these IPs that they own? Man, could you imagine just bringing some of these IPs back that they own that could use these guys? I have long since said and had been kind of lamenting the fact that people don't understand or they underestimate what Microsoft actually owns in IPs. It's not as small a list as you think. The problem is they've taken a lot of their IPs and they have basically mothballed them for forever. Think about like a Crimson Alliance, or do they don't own Jade Empire, but there was another one. Oh man, there's a couple of IPs that they own that would be perfect for something like this. Imagine like imagine some of the Age games getting some form of help with an Exile. I know they're RPG based, and Age of Empires is RTS, but imagine a Blood Wake. Not a Blood Wake, I'm sorry. Like a new Blue Dragon type game, something like that. Imagine just there's so many things that they could bring back.
Well, what I'm more interested in, and it goes back to what Piers said, is the games. But what's really drawing me in about this is they spent all this money on buying these studios. How much money are they going to pump into these studios? And we've seen the mass hirings that have been going on. Like, Playgrounds Games is hiring for over 200 developers right now across 3 different locations. The Initiative's doing massive hiring. Compulsion's hiring. Ninja Theory's been on a hiring spree. They've basically doubled that studio. Microsoft's building them a brand new location from the ground up.
Oh,
This kind of investment we've never seen before. And these are teams that never have had this kind of investment before. These are teams that people like In Exile, Obsidian, Compulsion's a little bit different, but they're all teams that fought tooth and nail to bring what some of their greatest games out. May not have found the most critical success, but released amazing games. The Wasteland series, the original game released in 1988, and was a huge influence to the coming of the Fallout series. That was a huge influence for the Fallout series.
Yep.
Going back to what you say, that was Interplay back then, though.
Mm-hmm.
And that a lot of people didn't know that. Everyone always thinks when they think In Exile, they just think Wasteland 2 and the upcoming 3.
Nope.
No one thinks back to 1988, where the original, and how much influence that studio had, and how much talent that studio has. Same thing with Obsidian. I like the studios Microsoft picked up because they're smart. When I was one of those people that when they were talking about Microsoft buying EA and everyone was like, oh, that's a great idea. I was like, no, invest in talent. Mm-hmm. The only thing that, I'm not going to say pisses me off, annoys me, is that Studio MDHR is still not part of that banner.
And I can't say that they haven't approached them, but I would wait. I'd wait.
And you also got to look at the new thing, too, is that they're clearly not done with them. There being talks about them scheduling meetings with IO Interactive.
Yeah,
next.
I heard that, and that would be insane, especially if they could snag something like the Hitman IP.
Well, the main thing is and the interesting thing is with the whole IO Interactive perspective, is that that's a company that left Square Enix, got cut by Square Enix. They wrangled their IP out, which no other developer's ever done. Not a lot of developers get to keep their IPs. Mm-hmm. They lost Kane and Lynch, unfortunately, but they managed to keep the Hitman franchise. They went out on their own, and Square Enix is like, well, we're not going to publish you either. So they went, okay, who wants to publish the Hitman series? And Warner Brothers was like, no problem. So they've got some licensing with Warner Brothers now so they can publish the Hitman series. And IO Interactive straight up said that they were still interested in doing episodics going forward, even after Hitman 2. And what works really well in Game Pass? Episodic games. What does the Hitman franchise need? More exposure. It's a really great game franchise, but stealth games are a really hard sell to the casual audience. But if you can download it and play it as part of a membership you're already buying, I get it.
Well, and again, this is why Red Dead is probably a game I shouldn't be so into right now. Hitman is in Game Pass, the whole thing. I haven't touched it, and I want to. And from what I understand, Hitman 2 is phenomenal. I'm hearing great things about Hitman 2.
Hitman 2 is like Hitman 2 brings me back to the 90s. In the sense that when you Hitman Season 1 was a great refresher for the franchise, brought back to its core roots. And then Hitman 2 does everything the first game did, but added more and made it more complicated. It felt even more challenging. Your first level in the game is more challenging than the last level in the first game. Yeah. And then the end level of this game was insanely more difficult than anything you ever did in the first game. It felt like a natural progression. And that's really hard to do in a sequel.
Yes. But they apparently have done it.
Yeah.
So, sorry, man, Last, I hope you keep coming back, man, because I am loving your I'm loving your contributions to our chat room, and you're bringing me back to, speaking of the 90s, you're bringing me back to some great old times. He just literally made me go look up LucasArts.
Oh man, I made a post on Twitter the other day. I was like, 90% of people don't know this studio, but LucasArts made some of the best video games.
Well, he was mentioning stuff like Loom. I mean, nobody remembers Loom. Nobody remembers those Scrum games. I love the fact that you can get the They made some of they took the Indiana Jones IP and made some of the greatest point-and-click games ever.
Mm-hmm. LucasArts point-and-click games were some of the best things ever.
Yeah.
It really, yeah.
I love those. Fantastic.
And then when I remember the one that The Fate of Atlantis. I remember having that, and then I remember getting the CD version where it had voice, and it was just like, it was awesome. Now you played Tumbleweed Park, Peter. Did that?
Yes.
That kind of bring you back to that era?
Mm-hmm.
I have to get that. That's another one.
Yeah, that's a game I've been meaning.
Isn't that in Game Pass?
No.
No. It should be.
It should be.
That's what I do with 90% of games that come out now. I sit there and go, do I buy this now, or could this potentially go to Game Pass?
Yeah, I have the same thing. It's just kind of a little sad, but also if a game is not a big AAA, and it's it should be in Game Pass for me to even give it some time.
Yeah, I have a hard. It's sad to a degree, but with how it's for me, it's if I want to buy a new AAA game, it's I got to drop $93 after tax. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's I really weigh out my options. Is this worth it?
Right.
And 98% of the time, I go, I can wait for a sale. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. No. All right. So that is this is our Peter, give me your final thoughts on these acquisitions.
I mean, it's great. Hopefully, we see some games sooner than later. And
Well, we're gonna see Ninja Theories next year. I mean, we're gonna find out next year what they're working on.
right. So, but hopefully, it's more than just one, and get to see some great games.
Yep. Well,
And hopefully, they still have every game from our studios will go into Game Pass. So hopefully, they'll keep that going.
well, and Hellblade is going into Game Pass next month.
Yes.
Which
Which is sad because I bought it for PlayStation, but I have not had a chance to play it.
you still should.
So now we'll be in Game Pass, and I might play the Xbox version because I play Xbox more than my PlayStation.
Well, and I think is that one enhanced?
Yeah, it
isn't.
It isn't, but it is significantly. It's one of those games where it performs significantly better on the X. Because the original PlayStation, I keep in mind I have a Slim. There was frame rate pacing issues on the PlayStation when I played it, and the X version's buttery smooth. I have 2 copies of that game because I bought it on PlayStation the day it came out, and then I won an Xbox copy off Inside Xbox.
According to hold the phone, because it might be. Hold on. I'm looking at. Here we go. Here's the enhanced games. A couple of folks said yes. Hang on. I'm scrolling down the list. This is what happens when you're in real time. H grabbed Grim, Halo. Hellblade is on this list. 4K with HDR.
Cool.
I may have to go back and look at it.
I played it on the Slim and whatever resolution and frame rate that was, and it blew my mind then. So I imagine 4K HDR is like.
Oh, I can't look. It's not, and that's not even. Yeah, there's a whole article on it from April about what enhancements there are. It's
I think too. I may be wrong. I'm not even sure if this would be in the enhancements. I believe it's got Dolby Atmos support too.
Really, because even if it doesn't matter. Holy cow, the audio in that is just so intense.
You actually know. We want to know why the audio. I was watching a documentary on Ninja Theory. They actually hired someone that specialized in Dolby Atmos to do the bass sound design for that game. So it was designed purely around that experience, but to bring it to standard headphone users.
Right.
Which is... I'll never shut up about that game, I swear. God damn.
So you have, but my point was that was coming to Game Pass, so that's Ninja Theory. I'm surprised We Happy Few has not.
Give it, from what I'm hearing, think February, March.
Okay.
Because basically, this is something people missed out on. Is the law when We Happy Few launched, it actually broke MPD top 20s.
Yes,
It
I
actually
know.
it sold decently. So I don't think they're going to rush to send that one to Game Pass, but it will definitely come.
I didn't think it. I thought it dropped off though.
From my understanding, because of the patches they've been doing, it's been on a couple of decent sales. It's actually not doing bad.
All right.
So, which is cool. Like, I'm all for that. And as they bring more studios in and bring their prior games to Game Pass, hopefully some of their prior games will hit backwards compatibility too. Looking at you, Ninja Theory.
Oh. I'm trying to remember. Did they bring all of their IPs with them? I'm trying to think because, remember that. Remember that with Sony, like with Heavenly Sword, for example, whenever you made a Sony exclusive game, Sony kind of owned the IP.
Yep.
I'd love to see another one of those, or maybe they'll make a spiritual successor. Because that was a good game, Heavenly Sword. It was a much better game than I think people gave it credit for.
Ninja Theory's done a whole history of games that were really good that people never really gave the credit to, though. That's kind of like their whole back history, is them making really, really good video games and people kind of brushing it off the whole time.
Well, yeah.
Which sucks, because I never realized how much they had done until Hellblade came out. I was like, Ninja Theory, why does this sound familiar? Went to Google. I went, oh, I've played a bunch of Ninja Theory games, and they were really, really good.
Yeah, including one that I'm sure nobody realizes, Devil May Cry.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what I was afraid of, is that Sony did own the Heavenly Sword IP. That's their MO is to own those. But,
well, that's the same. I was going to say that's the same issue From Software has. They didn't want to work with Sony for a sequel of Bloodborne, but they don't own the Bloodborne IP.
Right. So
that's why we got Sekiro. So,
which is perfectly fine, and that's something that Ninja Theory could do. So, I mean, honestly, right now it's Ninja Theory, Compulsion, and Exile, and Obsidian and the Initiative. We need to hear what they're working on. Otherwise, 343 we know what they're working on. Coalition, Gears 5 is coming next year. I think we know that. Turn 10 we know Forza. Rare we know Sea of Thieves is stuff they're working on, and as you threw in there earlier, we think they're still running Battletoads somewhere. Minecraft is Minecraft. Playground and Undead, we know what games they have. So it's really just those new 4 plus the Initiative. That's not horrible. So
no. Well, and also we don't know what the hell Playgrounds is hiring all these people for. It's an unannounced RPG.
Yeah, the unannounced, right? The unannounced Fable RPG. Fable? Yeah, the unannounced.
I wanted, my dream of that announcement is when they announced that RPG, it's some obsolete OG Xbox game and it's not Fable, just so they can just shatter everyone's expectations. Because they gotta blow they gotta blow people's heads off the roofs to be hyped for Fable. They gotta really nail that out of the park.
Oh, I think after Fable Legends and Fable the Journey, I think they're gonna be just. I think they're anything.
Mike, there's no game after Fable 3. There's no game after Fable 3. I'm actually okay with. I'm actually okay with pretending that Fable 3 never happened. It was just 1 and 2. I'm fine with that.
As long as the next game does not allow some rando to come into my game unannounced and drop 2 million gold on me and say, "Here you go, have fun," and ruin the game for me, I'm okay.
Never had that problem.
I had that problem right off the bat. Some dude just rolled into my game and said, "Hey, here," and gave me gold and weapons, and then literally said, "I'm out," and left. And I'm like, well, now what do I do? So, yeah.
Where was he the whole time I played RuneScape? Damn it.
Oh, my goodness. So, all right. So, let's get to the other side of the pond of gaming. And that is our friends over at Sony. So, for those of our new folks, you're gonna get a lesson in listening to Mike.
I'm gonna go grab a drink before Lessons with Mike starts.
So, if you've been under a rock, and you have not heard already, Sony has decided they are pulling out of E3 altogether. They will not be at E3 at all. Not just the fact that they're not going to do a press conference. They're not going to be on the show floor. They are out. They're out. So, that is a big announcement. That is something that which went under the radar, caused a guy who had worked for the ESA for 6 years, Reed Albers, to roll out. He announced he was leaving, and it started to for perspective. Those of you who have been following Next Level Gaming for the last few years know that about 3 years ago, after we saw EA pull out of E3 and do their own thing, and started to see other companies very much lessen their involvement, that I said, we've come to a point where E3 is no longer relevant. And people are like, no, of course it's relevant. It's a big show of the year, and yes, but it was the big show of the year when it was just a media show and you didn't have social media, and every John, Dick, and Joe with a cell phone, with a smartphone camera, couldn't take videos and pictures of their favorite games at PAX. We have companies now that Sony and Microsoft and third-party companies set up shop at Comic-Con, for crying out loud. We have Tokyo Game Show still. We have Gamescom still. We have, Sony moved a good chunk of its announcements and PR to a little-known Paris Games Show that nobody had ever heard of until they decided to start showing up there. And so 3 years ago, I was on we had an E3 show with Tony Polanco from the Throwdown podcast, and we were, I was reminiscing about my time at E3 and the great years that I spent there, and he was talking about going that year, and I said, I'm going to give it 5 years. And in 5 years, E3 is going to either completely go away, or it will turn into another PAX, and will never be what it used to be when it was a media-only show. And then we started to see the trickle of things happening. Microsoft the next year kind of took a smaller booth. They moved over to the third-party area, and then last year they took their marbles across the street to one of their own theaters to do their own E3 stuff over there, and now you see Sony just completely out. Now, there's a couple of modes of thought here, but and if I as much as I loathe social media, it is also funny to watch it. There's a couple of things going on. Number one, I've also said that when we get into game development, every company has ups and downs. They have years where they're pumping out games, and they're going to have years when they're not, when they have to reload. Their studios have to reload. Sony is getting ready to hit a reload. They have Days Gone coming out next year. They've got Last of Us 2 coming out sometime. They just put out a string of games, all great hot games. God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, blah blah blah. But they got to reload the gun. In the meantime, Microsoft's on an upswing with buying studios, and we're going to start seeing what they're working on. So, that we're coming back to that center area where they're gonna dip and valley. It was who was it? It was Sean Layden that said specifically, they didn't want to set expectations really high and not deliver next year, which tells me they're not ready to show off the next wave of games yet. And that's okay. That's perfectly okay, especially after that weird thing they had last year, with the moving theaters and whatnot. They didn't have a PSX, and they'll still, I'm sure they'll still have other shows. They're still gonna, I'm sure,